Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. My name is the Battle Room, and today I am joined by some teams from the Champions tier in Pokemon Champions. So recently, Pokemon Champions finished its first ever season, which was very exciting. I feel like in Scarlet and Violet, the in-game ladder just wasn't taken as seriously. Obviously, among the Japanese players, they took it very seriously, and they tried very, very hard. It was very competitive near the top, but I feel like this time around, we saw something that was incredible. Like, people were trying so hard to be in that #1 rank, and they were trying so hard to even achieve that Champions tier, because it kind of felt like there was a little bit of a, like some credit to be earned by getting top 300. So it made it really competitive, and it was really fun to participate and try to climb the ladder, especially with so many strong players trying their best. Now, it was obviously dominated by the Japanese players, but I want to talk about some of the teams, because some of the people shared their teams, some of them have not. And we're just gonna kind of take a look, see where the meta is moving to and what is changing. I feel like the first thing to notice about this current metagame is that Whimsicott is on top right now. The biggest shift we've probably seen in the last couple of weeks has probably been Whimsicott. Whimsicott is dominating the ladder. We see 1, 2, 3. Whimsicott just, I feel like it's so potent, mostly because of the way it can interact into Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl obviously can set up Tailwind, but Whimsicott's Tailwind is priority, and it just makes the trade so awkward, right? If I lead Whimsicott and you lead Aerodactyl, if I press Tailwind and you press Tailwind, that's awesome. Next turn, I'm threatening an Encore, which makes you press Tailwind again. But if you don't press Tailwind and you try to kill Whimsicott and you do succeed and you take Whimsicott out, I got Tailwind and you don't, dude. Now I get to bring something in and continue to put that pressure on you. So Whimsicott has just seen a huge, I wouldn't say spike in usage, but I would say a huge spike in play at the top levels, right? Like, people at the top are, like, obviously Aerodactyl's still strong, people are still using it, but we're seeing just a lot more Whimsicott. So let's talk about the first place team here. We don't have too much to go off of here. Suika did share it, and they said they might publish the build later. For those who do not know, Suika is one of the most prolific best of one ladderers in the entire game. This guy is a demon, consistently winning the global challenges back in Scarlet and Violet, and he won the first global challenge in this current new Champions Age, and also finishing #1 on the Pokemon Champions ladder. So we don't actually have much. I will link this website down below. This is a Japanese website called Liberty Note. So if you want to scroll through, check out their Twitters, see if they've posted anything, feel free. But this is just all we have in the current moment of recording. So this was the team they used, though. And I think it is very cool and very interesting. Now, obviously, we don't have everything, but there is still a lot we can infer from seeing this, right? So Charizard. It's a Mega Charizard team through and through. I think Charizard is still one of, if not the best Mega, and he pairs incredibly well with Whimsicott. I just broke down kind of why Whimsicott is picking up in usage, specifically as setting up Tailwind. And I think what makes Fairy Feather kind of neat as well is that you get a lot of damage from it, because you don't want to run Sash, because Glimmora with Sash is very good. I was actually testing a very similar 6 to Suika's team here, and Glimmora loves the Sash, right? And so Whimsicott running Fairy Feather makes a lot of sense, because it allows you to be very bulky, while also able to do big damage with your one stab, which is Moonblast. So you're able to pick up some nice 2-hit KOs on a stuff like bulky Garchomp with Moonblast, but it allows you to run a lot of bulk that Whimsicott definitely loves. So we have Fairy Feather on Whimsicott. We have to assume that Encore, Tailwind, Moonblast, and probably Sunny Day are the moves here. Sunny Day is really good right now. Having that manual Sun is pretty important. We're seeing a lot of Rain Dance Sableye, so to combat that, Sunny Day can be pretty good. Now, obviously, if you Sunny Day in front of a Sableye, it's not going to work, but you're able to trade with Sableye a little bit more effectively, take it out, and then set up a Sunny Day later if you so need to. It also is just good against rain or hail or sand, whatever you're playing against. Manual Sunny Day is lit. King Gambit has always been a staple on the Charizard teams. I don't think that's going to change. He's just very good. Now, the interesting choice here is going to be Mystic Water Basculegion. Now, Suika did... there was someone who was using the same 6 Pokemon much earlier in the season, but they hid their items. And I don't think I would have ever been able to predict the Mystic Water Basculegion. I think that's absolutely crazy, but I think there's definitely some key KOs it's able to snipe with potential Aqua Jets, right? That's the main reason, is you get a beefier Wave Crash and you get a really strong Aqua Jet. And it's just something I think people aren't necessarily prepared for at the current moment. I would expect Scarf, I would expect Sash, I would expect... potentially like a defensive berry like Colbur Berry or Cassib Berry, but Mystic Water can just get you some spicy KOs, right? Like being able to Aqua Jet Aerodactyls. Considering a lot of the Aerodactyls are not currently running Sash and are instead Mega, it seems like a very cool change. Citrus Berry Garchomp has always been very, very good. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge fan of Sash Glimmora. I think Sash Glimmora is just so sauced. It's so annoying to kill. It trades so well with almost everything in the format, right? Because you have to hit it twice. And hitting it twice is already really hard because you don't want to proc the Toxic Debris. And Toxic Debris can just win games. Glimmora's ability will throw Toxic Spikes. They get poisoned. You can start stalling. All of your Pokemon are very naturally bulky. And I mean, even with stuff like Mystic Water, you're able to potentially just get a KO on something that they might not expect with the poison, with the Mystic Water. So I think this is just a fire team. And I kind of expect going forward, obviously these type of teams, especially the rank 1 team, are going to make a splash at the highest levels of the game. And you're going to start seeing this team everywhere. But I think it's a lot of cool pieces. And I do think that Whimsicott is probably the next adjustment for Charizard teams. We started with just regular Charizard teams with Venusaur, with Milotic. We moved to Aerodactyl Charizard teams. Now we're moving to Whimsicott. And then something to beat the Whimsicott Charizard teams as a Charizard team will probably emerge next. Unless maybe this is peak. Maybe Whimsicott Charizard is as high as the ladder goes. But I do expect that this team will become very infinitely popular, especially if a build is published by Suika. It's just so good. Again, I use something very, very similar throughout the season. And you just kind of get to use all the best guys. And you kind of get to cheat with that priority Tailwind. So congrats to Suika for getting first. It's really no surprise. And then in second place, we actually do have the rental code. Now, not all of these teams have rental codes. It's really up to the players and if they want to share them. So I'm just going off of the information we currently have. So yeah, we do have a rental code for this one though. So this one's pretty cool. We've got Typhlosion Whimsicott again, Whimsicott. Typhlosion Whimsicott is something that we've seen in the past in Scarlet and Violet, but I feel like Typhlosion has been kind of on the back burner as we've approached this game. Obviously, Pokemon like King Gambit are really annoying for it. Basculegion even do cause it a lot of problems, but they decided, hey, I'm going to run Farigiraf paired with Tailwind paired with Typhlosion. So we have Manual Sunny Day, we have Typhlosion, we also have the surprisingly Ice Fang Aerodactyl down here. I also like the Sash King Gambit, especially paired with this Farigiraf, because you get to run all of his stabs. You have a really scary, strong, like coverage option, and then the Sash is just really surprising and something that's going to catch some opponents off guard. Floette is also just cool because I think Floette is just strong in general, and Floette plus Fairy Feather Whimsicott can do a lot of damage, right? They do so much damage together. This is a max modest Whimsicott. It's doing a lot of damage. It can actually get some surprising KOs with Fairy Aura. So it's a cool combination to be had, and I think this is just kind of a cool, fun team. It's very, very aggressive. It's all about setting up Tailwind with our priority Tailwind users, and then Mega Aerodactyl is the Mega here, potentially to give us more speed and more pressure. I don't even think it has Tailwind. I bet that's dual Wing Beat. So yeah, this team is kind of nuts, but it's all about just keeping that keeping your foot on the gas and just trying to deal as much damage as humanly possible. But again, rental code there. And then next up, we have Shade Vieira's team, who he didn't share anything from his like actual team. We just have the items, which is kind of wild that he used regular or Mega Dragonite with no rain. But I do kind of think that maybe Mega Dragonite has some potential. We saw Slow succeed very, very greatly with Dragonite as well. On a rain team, but it didn't even have any rain moves. It was Dragon Pulse, Tailwind, and Heat Wave. And I think that, Whimsicott might cause some problems for Tailwind Dragonite, Mega Dragonite, but I think Mega Dragonite is a really good Tailwind setter. He's super consistent at setting it up. He does great into most Sun teams. I think he's just kind of a strong pick, and maybe we've been sleeping on him. But Shade Vieira is a former world champion, one of the best players of all time, consistently competing at the highest level here. And yeah, I mean, a lot of cool choices. Roselli Berry Garchomp is kind of surprising, but we're seeing a lot of Whimsicott, we're seeing Floette, we're seeing Sylveon. Roselli Berry does make a lot of sense in the current meta. Like I mentioned before, that Dragonite set he can just be very annoying. I also think on this team, I wouldn't expect the Dragonite to be Mega, which could catch a lot of people off guard. Mega Charizard is still Mega Charizard. He's still the GOAT. He's just simply the best Mega, and I think he's just, if I were to tier the Megas, it would probably just be him and S, and then I would probably drop down a tier and then put Floette and friends, right? Floette, Aerodactyl, stuff of that nature. But I think Charizard is by far just the best Mega, and I think that's why Mega Aerodactyl would probably be the second best Mega right now. Focus Sash King Gambit is just really fire in closed team sheet. And then we're going to see that Whimsicott and Sylveon. Sylveon, we have double fairy, but I think that's okay because you just want to keep the pressure on. And I think Whimsicott is a fairy type and it is going to be dealing a lot of damage. But I think at the same time, having that committed, like, sometimes typing doesn't matter that much. Like, this team is double dragon, double fairy. It's just good, right? Like, Sylveon is good in Tailwind, so it's justified putting it next to Whimsicott there. But yeah, this team doesn't seem too super crazy. The Dragonite is definitely what I'd be interested in figuring out what that set is. Now, next up here, we have Shandy Holmes, who was kind enough to share their rental code with us here. So we do get to see their team, and it is a Mega Scovillain Mega Aerodactyl team. I think that Mega Scovillain and Mega Aerodactyl are two really great friends. They're two buddies locked at the hip. I think Scovillain does love that Aerodactyl just deals with his biggest ops, most notably Charizard, right? So I think having that option is really, really nice. Aerodactyl is also just such a flexible and annoying Pokemon to deal with. But yeah, so I think this is just kind of like, I wouldn't say anything too crazy. I mean, okay, the no protect on Garchomp is pretty crazy with Poison Jab, but Poison Jab admittedly is really funny and something you're not going to see coming. It is Citrus Berry Garchomp. But yeah, it's definitely just kind of a normal-ish, like, just using the best Pokemon in the game and then having Scovillain. We've seen Scovillain fall off quite a bit, I believe. I mean, I'm not really seeing any. There's one right here, but yeah, Scovillain is definitely not as, you know, like he's not, we're not new to him anymore. So he's falling off a little bit, but at the same time, I think it's a strong Pokemon. The meta is still very, very physical. We see a potential Calm Mind Sylveon here paired with the Scovillain. I think this team is just the best Pokemon in the game with Scovillain. So you get to Rage Powder, you get to burn them, you get to set up your other boys, and then you can spam Earthquake, you can spam Hyper Voice, spam King Gambit and Basculegion, who are just some of the best Pokemon in the game. And you just put a lot of pressure on them with them. It's kind of a crazy team. I'm glad they shared the code. But yeah, it definitely would catch me off guard because you just don't know what is doing what outside of Scovillain setting up his Mega Evolution. But yeah, congrats to Shandy Holmes for taking number 4. And then next up, we have the only non-Japanese player. We have Marco Fierro. So Marco didn't actually give us the actual rental code for the team, but he did give us basically everything else, so we can at least talk about it. Let's start with the Aerodactyl. The Aerodactyl is actually insane. Rock Slide, Sunny Day, Wide Guard, and Dual Wing Beat. But I kind of feel like in the closed sheet meta that we're currently in, and with all the Pokemon that we're seeing, especially with the rise of Rain and Rain Dance Sableye, I think Sunny Day Aerodactyl is sick, right? Like, if you're playing against Aerodactyl and you lead Charizard plus Aerodactyl, the Sableye is spamming Rain Dance every single time, but because it's priority, even though Aerodactyl's so fast, his Sunny Day goes second, which just allows you to just completely catch them off guard. If they're going for that Electro Shot, they might just lose the game on the spot. So I think it's a very cool tech move in the current meta. I also think Aerodactyl does fit the pace of the team really well. Garchomp, Sylveon, Charizard all appreciate Tailwind as it is, and this Charcoal Incineroar is really cool, and it puts a lot of pressure on outside of Tailwind as well, right? Like in Tailwind, it's doing insane damage in the sun, and in Trick Room, it can do potentially insane damage in the sun. So I think it's a really cool Trick Room to Tail Room hybrid, right? And I think Marco really cooked with this one. 5th place is like actually insane, and he is the only non-Japanese player up there, right? Like the next closest one is I don't even know. I think we got Japanese, Marco Fierro, Japanese. I think that's Japanese. I think it might be Paul Chua down here at 14th. So yeah, Marco, congrats for doing so well. Then we have Yura. This one is going to be number 7. This person didn't share their team or their accomplishments. So we got Yura here, who also gave us a rental code. This team is kind of crazy. This team is kind of crazy with Meowstic male on the squad. But I do think that one of the biggest problems for Froslass is dealing with a Pokemon like Charizard. So having that consistent strong answer in potential Rain Dance from Meowstic is pretty sick, right? The Meowstic is absolutely insane. Yeah, I don't know. Meowstic is just a Pokemon that I just wouldn't have expected. I think Froslass has fallen quite a bit, mostly because of the strength of Charizard currently. But I think, like, I'm pretty sure this one's running Substitute. I am kind of a fan of the sub Froslass. It makes those mind games in the early game kind of playable just because you are able to potentially set up a sub and not activate your weather right away. But I do think the biggest problem for Froslass is navigating around Charizard. But having something like this Rain Dance Meowstic makes a lot of sense. It can put a lot of pressure down, change the weather, not something you're expecting. And then Milotic can just do what it needs to do and actually threaten Charizard in an offensive manner. King Gambit remains at the top. I think the core of Sneasler, Froslass, King Gambit, Basculegion is really, really good. It's just a matter of how can I figure out how to take down Charizard. Next up here, we have Online, who they did share their build with us on their, they wrote like a little, like article about it here, but we can kind of see what they were using here. It's very, very similar to the team that Suiko is using, but instead we have Floette over, I believe, King Gambit, and we have a Scarf Basculegion. So once again, another Garchomp with no Protect, by the way. They're just not running Protect on Garchomp and just saying, hey, it's closed team sheet. I want as much coverage as humanly possible. But also in the current metagame, like you've noticed here, even Sneasler is starting to fall off a little bit, right? There's not a ton of Fake Out. So like not running Protect is like kind of crazy, but I don't know. It kind of makes sense in a way, just because there is like Protect is still a great move regardless of Fake Out, but sometimes you just kind of need it because of the prevalence of Fake Out. But right now it's all about dealing damage, so having that little extra poison coverage on something like Citrus Berry Garchomp seems really, really neat. And I wonder if we're going to see this transition to the open team sheets when we have our live events at the end of the month and next month. I'm very curious to see, but again, I think Glimmora plus Whimsicott is a deadly combo right now and something you need to be prepared for, especially with Charizard. It's just so obnoxious to deal with. They're dealing so much damage. They're putting so much pressure on just as a lead. And again, the toxic debris just goes a long way. Nothing too crazy on this team. I'm not sure what that Psychic move is on Whimsicott. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But again, we see that the Whimsicott is trained all in bulk. So you're putting on a ton of pressure with the Fairy Feather so that you're able to actually get the KOs you need, but you're investing in bulk. So you're kind of cheating. You're getting the best of both worlds, which I think is really, really cool. I'm going to look up what that Psychic move is. So that Psychic move is actually Trick Room, which is kind of neat as well, especially in Tailwind mirrors. Definitely some best of one cheese there, but I respect it. And then we have Paul Chua, the reigning EUIC champion, using a pretty standard-ish Charizard Aerodactyl team. This is very similar to the team that Fede Campo and the Italian players were using to great success, but with King Gambit over the Aegislash, which has become kind of one of the changes that you make. I think it's just a very, very solid and good team, right? Like you get to use all of the spread moves, right? You have Scarf Earthquake, you have Charizard, Sylveon, Aerodactyl. You have 4 Pokemon with immense power and really, really strong spread moves, and then you just throw on Basculegion, because he's like one of the best Pokemon in the game, and you throw in King Gambit, who's also one of the best Pokemon in the game, and you just start winning, right? You just start winning the game. So I think that this team is just super, super solid, super consistent, probably a little bit weak to the Tailwind stuff, but Paul, he's a master. He's a master of playing standard, and it's no surprise that we see him on the top here with one of the strongest teams in the format. And then we scroll all the way down here to the Lopunny one. Yeah, the Lopunny team. So this team's kind of nuts. We got Lopunny, we got Sylveon, we got Basculegion, Mega Dragonite, Scarf Archaludon, and Talonflame. I think Scarf Archaludon is actually very scary and very cool in these type of teams. Obviously, I think it's a little bit, not telegraphed, but you're kind of like, okay, what's it doing here? There's something crazy going on. It's definitely probably sturdy, but that still doesn't take away from how much pressure it can put out. I think also just Talonflame is similar to the Whimsicott vein, where it's able to set up priority Tailwinds, potentially do a lot of damage with its flying moves, but also just be able to outspeed Aerodactyl. And if Aerodactyl decides to go for the KO with Rock Slide, you don't really care, because now you're saying, hey, I got Tailwind, you don't have it. Let's see what you can do now, because I can just deal the damage with both my Pokemon. Mega Dragonite is so crazy to me. Like, I genuinely wonder what it's doing, but this is another team we're seeing with the Mega Dragonite team not on Rain. I think potentially it just trades so well in this format, right? Because I've used it a little bit on Rain, and it kind of just sits there. It's very, very difficult to KO, and it can set up pretty good tailwinds. It can do a lot of damage, specifically with stuff like Draco Meteor. Also, who knows? Maybe the Talonflame had Rain Dance. Lopunny's cool as well. It could potentially set up some After You shenanigans with Hyper Voice or Last Respects. It puts on a lot of pressure. It can't be intimidated. It's also a fighting type, which I think is very, very valuable in this format. It's just very, very weak. Then we've got two teams here that we don't really know what they're doing. Yeah, the next team I have, is this Ubislow's team? It is Ubislow's team. So I don't really know what's going on in this one. We just know we got Charizard and King Gambit. But next up, we got Ubislow's team. Ubislow is someone he's just one of the best players in the world. He always has been, always will be. And so anytime Ubislow even posts slightly anything, I'm ready to look. I'm ready to talk about it. This is a very, very cool team, though. Having Mega Floette with Mega Charizard, Scarf Archaludon, again, this Roselli Berry Charizard, and then two Pokemon we're not seeing a lot of, which is Sinistcha and Incineroar. I think it's very cool with Floette because there's probably a Calm Mind set. You're able to enable it. Well, actually, we know what set with the Floette was. He was actually Trailblaze Floette. Trailblaze, for those who do not know, is a physical grass move that raises your speed by 1. So, yeah, this is just, Ubisoft said he was just messing around on the final day with this squad. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy team. I think Roselli Berry is very neat on Garchomp, and it's something that we could see in the future. It can trade very, very well with Floette. But yeah, otherwise nothing super duper crazy. Scarf Archaludon again to catch people off guard. Pairing that with the Floette and the potential Floette squad is very cool. Then we have Can't Fly. Can't Fly's team is pretty crazy. This is some crazy Blastoise technology here. What's really cool too is we have potential setup for either Blastoise or Floette. So this team is literally like 3 support Pokemon, and then you pick your sweeper, right? They didn't share the ID. But obviously we see Sleep Powder, we see Tailwind, probably Hurricane, Rain Dance, Shell Smash Blastoise. So you're able to just, like, you lead Follow Me, you set them up, and then you start sweeping, right? Then you can potentially press Rage Powder with Sinistcha, or you can bring in a Fake Out user. You can also lead the Fake Out user with Blastoise to set them up, or if Blastoise doesn't look good into the enemy team, you swap to Floette and you just start playing Protect the Floette with Calm Mind. I think these type of teams won't go away. I think they're pretty strong. It's just that they sometimes get bogged down, and they're just not as good as they, like, could be, but obviously you can't complain. This got 23rd. It did very, very well, and I think that the strategy is pretty telegraphed. I think this could work in best of 3 open sheets, just because it's like, hey, I'm gonna Shell Smash. You still have to figure out how you're gonna stop me with my 3 supports, or I'm gonna Calm Mind. I think this is a cool duo that you just don't normally see. And then we've got another team here. This one just gave us the 6, which is kind of lame, but respect. We gotta hide the team sometimes. I think it's kind of a neat team. You see Sylveon potentially going nuts here with Tailwind, with Trick Room, and with Rage Powder from the Mega Scovillain. I also imagine that it is Mega Aerodactyl as well. It's kind of a hybrid here. I think Trick Room is really good for Basculegion as well, especially if you're very slow, potentially bulky or defensive item on that Basculegion like Citrus Berry. You can just set up Trick Room and this guy can go absolutely nuts. I also think Farigiraf is a great answer to enemy Basculegions, just because it allows you to you're just immune to Last Respect. So in the late game, as long as you can take a Wave Crash, you can set up a Trick Room and enable your own Basculation. But yeah, I think it's a very cool team. Something that you're just not seeing a lot of. Do we have... This guy hit all the items. Fair enough, fair enough. But again, we're seeing that Whimsicott, Basculation, King Gambit. No Glimmora this time, opting for instead Floette, which I think is a fair swap. I think Floette is still a very strong Pokemon. You do just get to use all the best Pokemon in the game and then a Whimsicott. So... you don't feel too bad about it. They hit us with the laughing, crying emojis there. But yeah, I think it's actually just the same team that won the biggest tournament of all time, but with Whimsicott, which I think is very fitting for the way the meta is currently going. Then we have this crazy team. This team is wild. We've got like a Trick Room team with Farigiraf, with Mega Kangaskhan, but then we also have like a Charizard mode. It's very, very cool, very weird. Also, a Leftovers Archaludon is pretty wild. This team is just wild. They said they're going to write an article about it. They plan to write an article, so I'm excited to see what this one does, because this seems nuts. I wonder what the Archaludon's doing. I imagine we have a very strong Concrete Trick Room mode with Kangaskhan, Farigiraf, Primarina, and King Gambit. But I don't know what he's doing. Charizard also can kind of function in Trick Room, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know. This team is crazy. I just can't even speculate on it. It's kind of nuts. Then we just have the 6 Pokemon here. So Nothing too crazy. It's kind of a Rain team paired with Archaludon and Scovillain, which I think is very, very strong, honestly. I think that Scovillain on Rain makes a lot of sense because you're able to protect him from Charizard without using a Mega slot. So running solo Mega Scovillain seems okay. Now, this might be a dual Mega. It might have Mega Glimmora as well, which I think could be a cool partner for Scovillain because it does help deal with Charizard. But you have Rain, you have Tailwind, so you're able to take control of the speed and the weather. I think it seems like a very, very cool team. Next up here, we've got number 32. We have a team consisting of, you guessed it, the best Pokemon in Whimsicott again. It's very clear that the meta is shifting very, very heavily towards Whimsicott, and Whimsicott is going to be one of the most dominant factors moving forward from here on out. Whimsicott is just clearly the GOAT. I think it's like Mega Aerodactyl was good and was very strong for a while, and same with Aerodactyl. But now I think it's like, hey, I want priority Tailwind, and I think Whimsicott is able to do that much more effectively and much more efficiently. And again, like I mentioned the whole time, is that it's able to trade Tailwinds better than Aerodactyl can. Now, obviously, it's not perfect. It's not airtight, but I think we're clearly seeing that it's a lot of success from Whimsicott. This one's opting for Citrus Berry, though. The White Herb Archaludon is pretty neat because it allows you to run Draco Meteor twice. I think a White Herb is actually not bad, as crazy as that seems, just because Incineroar is not very popular, so you're usually not getting screwed over by Intimidate, ruining your White Herb. Because obviously if you Intimidate this Archaludon, he just doesn't get an item. But I think it's pretty cool and pretty smart to run it in a meta where he's just not very popular. And so then you're able to fire off 2 Draco Meteors, you don't have to worry about that drop, and you get to run Archaludon, who also might be one of the best users of the move Thunderbolt. There's not a lot of good electric type Pokemon in the format, so having a Pokemon with Thunderbolt and electric type coverage is very, very valuable. So I'm wondering if that's what they were doing. He's also a steel type. He's a dragon. He's got a lot of good typing. Otherwise, we see pretty standard choices here with a Scarf Garchomp, a Mega Charizard-Y, and then Basculation and King Gambit. That was actually, is this Spy Anya's team? No, this is Hero King's. This one is Spy Anya's team. Spy Anya, for those who do not know, is a Japanese national champion. I kind of want to end on this one. There's a ton of teams on here if you want to keep going. There's a couple that we missed, but I just wanted to touch on the really like top level teams that we'll stop at 33rd. But Spy Anya is just an incredible player with, again, another Whimsicott team. This one is opting for Floette paired with the Whimsicott, which is very, very cool. I think Floette with Whims can be very scary because it's able to potentially catch Garchomps off guard, potentially get a KO with Fairy Feather plus Fairy Aura. It's super scary, and it actually makes Whimsicott deal even more damage. And you also just get to spam fairy moves. Like, whether or not you're one-shotting Garchomp doesn't matter when you're just putting on so much pressure with Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam, just dealing spread damage, and then you can set up Tailwind if you need it. It's a very, very cool combo and something I'm kind of interested in myself. Charizard, though, pairs well with Whimsicott. Garchomp with the Haban Berry to trade better into Dragons, and then obviously Basculation and King Gambit. Now, there's so many more teams we could cover. This team was absolutely sick as well, with the Weavile Whimsicott team that Jay Morty was able to pilot to great success. We saw it get champions here for him earlier in the season. He pops off again. I'll cover this one. This one's kind of cool. I think Weavile paired with Whimsicott is very neat as well. And again, we're seeing Whimsicott. This is the meta of Whimsicott right now. I think that's the biggest shift we're seeing. Obviously, this Glimmora as well. We're seeing more and more Glimmora pop up, whether it's Mega, whether it's not. I think Glimmora is in a good spot. I think having those stab poison type moves is super valuable. Rock Poison is just great coverage, and as long as you're able to deal with a Pokemon like Garchomp with, I don't know, Weavile or Whimsicott, it can make this Pokemon just pop off and go absolutely nuts. But yeah, there's a ton more teams. There's a couple more teams, honestly. Nothing too crazy. A lot of what we're talking about, but I think it gets my point across. Wow, some of these teams get really nuts. Yeah. But yeah, there's a ton more teams if you want to check them out. But I think clearly in the meta, we're seeing Priority Tailwind is one of the big takeaways. It's achieving the highest level here. It's doing incredibly well on multiple fronts. We're seeing less and less of Aerodactyl, specifically like Sash Aerodactyl. Now, Marco Fierro had Sash Aerodactyl, but we're seeing a lot of potential Mega Aerodactyl as well. But yeah, the meta is very strange. It's very interesting to see, right? Because official tournaments will be using open team sheet best of 3. This is closed team sheet best of 1. But a lot of the stuff does transition over. I think the core of these Pokemon is here to stay. I think Whimsicott plus the Sun guys. You kind of just pick whether you want Floette or Glimmora at this point. It's clearly a very strong team and something we're seeing just pop off again and again. So yeah, I'm interested to see where this all goes. I want to look at this team. Did they give us a pace? Nah. Mega Gardevoir, Mega Blastoise. Mental Herb, Talonflame, very crazy. That team's nuts. White Herb, Archaludon, sure, and then Roselli Berry. But yeah, it clearly is the rise of the fairy type, rise of Whimsicott, rise of Sylveon, and Glimmora. So let me know what you guys are rocking with in the current season. I don't know where I want to start. I think I might just want to play some Whimsicott. I'm tempted to just try out Whimsicott, but also there was a lot of cool other small things we're seeing. Dragonite. I think Scovillain is still very, very nasty, very, very cool. Froslass is just so confusing to me. I'm perplexed at how this person was able to beat so many Sun teams. Maybe it was just the Meowstic. So we'll have to see. Did I skip this one? I totally skipped this one. Oh, cool. Cool. Okay, I'll cover this one. I keep saying that, but these teams are just so cool. I'll cover this one. I did skip this one by complete accident, and then we'll end the video there. So this is actually a Rain team with Mega Dragonite and Mega Scizor, who I think are a very, very good combo. They pair incredibly well together. You're able to cover the Charizard weakness that Scizor hates the most, but I really like it with Rain as well. I think you also get Tailwind sometimes with Dragonite. I don't think this one is running Tailwind. I think it might be Hurricane. But yeah, this is just a very, very strong, simple Rain team. Nothing crazy. We got a standard support Pelipper set. We got the standard Archaludon, Scarf Basculegion, set up Scizor and a fake out Sneasler to help enable your entire team. Very, very cool, simple, effective Rain team. I think you don't see a lot of these. I think it's a lot of Sableye Rain, but we also, you know what? We don't see any Sableye here. Obviously, there's teams that we don't have, so Sableye definitely could be here. But Sableye, a little bit of a blip in the meta. Obviously, it's something you have to react to and you have to be able to beat. But yeah, Sableye just not showing up here, unfortunately. For the Sableye believers, in the top 100, there are none that we know of. Interesting. Obviously, Sableye is still good, and you have to respect it, and I'm sure that it's going to pop off at regionals and such, but very interesting to see. But let me know what you guys think of the current meta. Are you enjoying it? Where do you think it's going to go next? Like, genuinely, like, I feel like Whimsicott clearly is the next adjustment, but what's next? What's next in the Champions meta? I'll keep you updated, so if you want to continue to be updated, please subscribe, please like, comment, and we'll see you guys next time.